What if everything you know about reality is just a fragment of the truth? Ancient sages, from Egyptian priests to early Christian mystics, understood hidden laws that shape our very existence. A knowledge so powerful, it had to be veiled in symbols, parables, and secret teachings. Could it be that Jesus himself spoke of these mysteries, encrypting them within the very words of the Bible, waiting for those with eyes to see beyond the surface? The Kybalion, a Hermetic text shrouded in mystery, speaks of 7 fundamental principles that govern all of existence. These are not mere abstractions. They are the keys to understanding reality itself. But what if these principles were not limited to Hermeticism alone? What if they were echoed in the teachings of Jesus, woven into the fabric of his parables, waiting for those with eyes to see and ears to hear? Christianity and Hermeticism appear, at first glance, to be vastly different. One is a faith built upon divine revelation, the other, a philosophy rooted in esoteric wisdom. Yet beneath the surface, we find striking parallels. Both speak of an unseen order, a higher truth that transcends the material world. Both teach that the mind, the soul, and the divine are deeply interconnected. Could it be that Jesus was not rejecting ancient mystical traditions, but rather refining and illuminating them? Hermeticism speaks of the principle of mentalism, that all is mind, and the universe itself is a mental construct. This echoes the biblical idea that as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. Proverbs 23:7. The principle of correspondence, as above, so below, mirrors the words of Jesus, on earth as it is in heaven. Matthew 6:10. The principle of vibration, which holds that nothing rests, everything moves, finds its resonance in the concept of the Holy Spirit as the divine breath, the living movement of God's presence. But why would Jesus encode such knowledge in his teachings? Why speak in parables instead of laying bare these universal laws? The answer may lie in the very nature of truth itself. The secret of the kingdom of God has been given to you, he told his disciples. But to those on the outside, everything is said in parables. Mark 4:11. Knowledge, especially knowledge that grants power over the self and the world, has always been veiled, accessible only to those who seek it with sincerity. If we accept that Jesus taught not only faith, but also wisdom, then his message takes on a profound new dimension. He was not merely a preacher of moral guidance, but a revealer of cosmic truth. He spoke of the kingdom of heaven as something within us. Luke 17:21, hinting at a reality that could be accessed through transformation of the mind and spirit. Was he pointing toward the same understanding that the Hermeticists sought? The realization that divinity and consciousness are intertwined? And if so, what does this mean for us? If the principles of Hermeticism are not at odds with Christianity, but rather a deeper understanding of it, then what hidden power lies within the words of Christ? What does it mean when he tells us that faith the size of a mustard seed can move mountains? That the mind itself holds the key to shaping reality? This is where our journey leads us next, to the first principle, the foundation upon which all others rest, the principle of mentalism, the idea that all is mind, that thought itself is the architect of existence. Did Jesus, in his teachings on faith, perception, and transformation, reveal this very truth? And if so, what does that mean for our ability to shape our own reality? What if the nature of reality is not what it seems? What if everything around us, the world we see, the experiences we live, even the thoughts we think, is not separate from us, but born from a deeper, unseen force. This idea is not new. The ancient Hermeticists called it the Principle of Mentalism, the notion that all is mind, that the universe itself is but a manifestation of thought. But could it be that Jesus too spoke of this truth? That hidden within his words, his parables, his miracles, lies the very essence of this profound principle. As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. Proverbs 23:7. A simple phrase, yet one that hints at the immense creative power of the mind. If all is mind, then our thoughts, our beliefs, our very consciousness shape the world around us. Imagine for a moment that reality is a vast ocean, and our thoughts are the wind that stirs its surface. Every ripple, every wave is the result of unseen currents, patterns of belief, intention, and perception. This is not mere philosophy. It is the mechanism by which the universe unfolds. Jesus himself alluded to this when he said, "The kingdom of heaven is within you." Luke 17:21. Could he have been pointing toward a truth deeper than the physical world? A truth that reveals our role as co-creators of existence. The power of thought is not an abstract concept. It is the force that shapes our reality. Faith, in its purest form, is the direct application of this principle. When Jesus declared that faith as small as a mustard seed could move mountains, Matthew 17:20, was he speaking in metaphor, or was he revealing a hidden law of the universe? A law that suggests that belief, unwavering and focused, has the potential to reshape reality itself. But if this is true, then it begs a question. What are we creating with our minds? If our thoughts have power, if our beliefs give form to the world around us, then what happens when we fill our minds with doubt, with fear, with limitation? Could it be that we are unknowingly manifesting the very chains that bind us? Jesus understood this. That is why he did not merely preach faith. He demonstrated it. He walked on water. He healed the sick. He commanded the storm to be still. And yet, he told his followers, "Greater works than these shall you do." John 14:12. Was this a promise, a challenge? Or was he revealing the secret that so few were ready to grasp, that the mind, aligned with divine intention, holds infinite potential? The principle of mentalism is not about wishful thinking. It is about mastery of the self. The Hermetic texts teach that to change the world, one must first change the mind. Jesus taught the same. Transformation begins within. Before the blind could see, before the lame could walk, before the dead could rise, there had to be belief, a shift in consciousness, a recognition of possibility where none seemed to exist. If we accept this, then reality itself is not something that happens to us. It is something we shape. Every thought is a seed, and what we cultivate within our minds will inevitably take root in our lives. So the question remains, what are we planting? What are we allowing to grow? The implications are vast. If we are the architects of our reality, then what limits us? What holds us back? Perhaps, like those who heard Jesus speak in parables, we have not yet dared to look beyond the surface. But for those who seek, for those who are willing to perceive, the truth remains, waiting, unchanged, eternal. And if this is just the first principle, what other hidden laws govern our existence? What other forces shape the unseen structure of our world? The next key to understanding lies in the principle of correspondence, the ancient wisdom that declares, as above, so below, as within, so without. But what does that truly mean? And how did Jesus himself embody this mystery? What if the fabric of reality is woven from reflections? What if the universe itself is a mirror, endlessly repeating its patterns across different scales? Galaxies spiraling in the vastness of space, atoms whirling in microscopic dance, the mind shaping the world just as the heavens shape the earth? The ancient Hermeticists spoke of this mystery in a single phrase: as above, so below, as within, so without. A truth so simple, yet so profound, that it bridges the physical and the spiritual, the seen and the unseen. But could it be that Jesus himself revealed this very principle in his teachings? That hidden within his words, his actions, and his miracles lies the understanding that all things are connected, that the divine order is not distant, but embedded within us? The kingdom of heaven is within you. Luke 17:21. Not above, not beyond. Within. A statement so powerful that it dissolves the illusion of separation. The divine is not something to be reached. It is something to be remembered. And if heaven is within, then what does that say about the world around us? Could it be that what we experience outwardly is but an echo of our inner state? That the universe does not impose itself upon us, but responds to the frequencies we emit? This is the mystery of correspondence, the macrocosm and the microcosm, the great and the small, each reflecting the other. A single drop of water contains the pattern of the ocean. The vast cosmos mirrors the structure of the human soul. And within the teachings of Jesus, we find the same revelation, on earth as it is in heaven. Matthew 6:10. The divine blueprint does not exist in some unreachable plane. It is here, now, waiting to be understood. But if this is true, then what does it mean for the events of Jesus' life? Were his miracles simply acts of divine intervention, or were they demonstrations of a deeper law, one that reveals the unity between the spiritual and the material? Consider his healings. Time and time again, he did not simply cure illness. He restored harmony. To the blind, he granted sight. To the lame, he returned movement. To the possessed, he brought peace. These were not arbitrary acts. They were corrections, alignments between the seen and the unseen. Your faith has made you well. Mark 5:34. Not his power alone, but the faith of those who sought him. An inward transformation that manifested outwardly. And what of the storm? A raging tempest, threatening to consume the disciples, until Jesus stood and spoke, "Peace, be still." Mark 4:39. And in that moment, the winds obeyed. Did he command the elements, or did he simply resonate with a higher order? A stillness beyond chaos, a divine equilibrium reflected upon the waters. Could it be that the forces of nature are not separate from consciousness, but intimately bound to it? Even the greatest of his miracles, the raising of Lazarus, speaks to this truth. Death, the final barrier, undone by a single command: Lazarus, come forth. John 11:43. But was it truly death that had taken hold, or the belief in separation, the illusion that the spiritual and the physical are divided? In calling Lazarus back, was Jesus not just restoring life, but revealing that no division is absolute? That spirit and matter are not opposites, but reflections of the same essence. And if this principle holds true, if the world around us is but a mirror of the world within, then what power lies dormant within us? If our thoughts, our emotions, our beliefs shape reality, then what responsibility do we bear for the world we create? What suffering do we manifest through discord, through doubt, through fear? And what transformation is possible when we align with the divine pattern? Jesus did not come merely to heal bodies, but to awaken souls. You are the light of the world, Matthew 5:14. Not in some distant time, not in some other realm. Here. Now a reflection of the divine made manifest in human form. And if he saw this within us, then what does it mean for our place in the cosmos? Are we not co-creators, shaping reality with every thought, every action, every breath? If as above, so below, then as within, so without. Change begins not in the heavens, but in the heart. When the inner world shifts, the outer world must follow. And so, the question remains, what are we aligning ourselves with? What reflection do we cast into the mirror of existence? But the mystery does not end here. If all things are connected, if spirit and matter are bound by unseen threads, then what of movement? What of energy? The next principle reveals a deeper layer, a force that vibrates through all things, shaping reality in ways unseen. Jesus spoke of peace, of faith, of love. But could it be that these were more than virtues? Could they have been frequencies, vibrations that alter the very fabric of existence? And if so, how do we tune ourselves to this higher resonance? Everything moves. Everything vibrates. This is not poetry. This is law. The ancient Hermeticists spoke of it. Modern science confirms it. Nothing in the universe is truly still. Not the stars, not the atoms, not the thoughts that pulse through your mind. Reality itself is a song, a frequency, a great unseen rhythm shaping all things. And if this is true, then what does it mean for us? What does it mean for our place within this vast, vibrating order? Jesus did not speak in equations, nor did he lecture on quantum mechanics. Yet in every word, every act, every miracle, the truth of vibration was revealed. When he said, "Peace be with you," it was not a simple greeting. It was an act of transformation. He spoke not just to the ears of his disciples, but to the very essence of their being. Words hold power, and when spoken with the full force of divine will, they can shift the frequency of the listener. In Mark 4:39, when Jesus calmed the raging storm with the words, "Peace, be still," was he merely exerting divine authority, or was he demonstrating a mastery of vibration itself? If the external world is a reflection of the inner state, then his command was more than an order. It was an alignment, a resonance with a higher order of harmony. What if miracles are not violations of natural law, but deeper expressions of it? The healings of Jesus, were they supernatural, or were they acts of vibrational restoration? If disease is disharmony, then healing is not the eradication of sickness, but the realignment of frequency. He did not merely cure, he recalibrated. Your faith has healed you, he told those who came to him. But was faith merely belief, or was it attunement, a resonance with the higher vibrations of love and wholeness? Every emotion, every thought is a frequency. Hatred and fear resonate at lower, denser vibrations, pulling the soul into heaviness, into illness. But love, compassion, and faith, these are the higher harmonics, the tones that lift, restore, and illuminate. Could this be why Jesus so often spoke of love as the greatest commandment? Not as moral advice, but as vibrational truth? Ask, and it will be given to you. Seek, and you will find. Matthew 7:7. But what if asking is not just about words? What if it is about resonance? What if faith is not blind belief, but attunement? To receive, one must vibrate at the frequency of what one seeks. To dwell in peace, one must first be still within. Prayer, then, is not merely petition, it is calibration, a tuning of the soul, not a plea for intervention, but a harmonization with divine order. And when prayer is true, when faith is unshaken, miracles cease to be miraculous. They become inevitable. So what of our daily lives? Are we not constantly tuning ourselves, whether we know it or not? Every thought, every word, every action adjusts our frequency. When we dwell in bitterness, we attract discord. When we rise in love, we call forth light. This is not wishful thinking. This is vibration. And this is responsibility. For if we are creators of harmony or chaos, then every moment is a choice. Will we amplify the noise of the world, or will we sing a higher song? Will we be swept by the storms, or will we, like him, stand in stillness and say, "Peace"? The universe moves. The soul moves. Nothing is fixed. Nothing is final. And so, the question remains, to what frequency will you tune your life? But the mystery does not end here. If all is vibration, if every thought and action sends out a wave into the unseen, then what of duality? What of light and darkness, love and fear, good and evil? Are they truly opposites, or are they but different octaves of the same eternal song? The answer lies in the next truth, the next law, the next unveiling of the hidden order beneath all things. Opposites define our reality: light and darkness, heat and cold, life and death. They appear as forces in conflict, yet they are bound together, inseparable, two sides of the same coin. The ancients understood this well. They saw the universe not as a battlefield of absolutes, but as a dance of polarities. The Hermeticists called it the Principle of Polarity. Everything has its opposite, yet in truth, these opposites are but degrees of the same essence. Take heat and cold. Where does one end and the other begin? There is no single point, only a spectrum. The same is true of good and evil, love and hate, order and chaos. These are not opposing forces waging an eternal war. They are gradients, reflections of a deeper unity. The world, in all its complexity, is built upon this interplay of opposites. And those who seek wisdom must learn not to cling to one side, but to understand the balance. Jesus understood this. His teachings, so often misunderstood, were built upon paradox. He spoke of the last becoming first, Matthew 20:16, of losing one's life to save it, Luke 9:24. To the untrained mind, these words seem contradictory, but they are not contradictions. They are revelations of a deeper truth, the unity of opposites. Suffering and joy, weakness and strength, despair and faith, each exists to reveal the other. Without darkness, light is meaningless. Without struggle, there is no transformation. Consider the trials of the desert, where Jesus fasted for 40 days, facing temptation. He did not reject suffering. He embraced it, allowing it to shape him. Was this a test, or was it an initiation? Perhaps we too are being shaped by our own opposites. What if suffering is not punishment, but refinement? What if temptation is not a fall, but a step upward? The trials of life are not arbitrary. They are the rhythm of transformation, the fire that forges the soul. When Jesus tells us to love our enemies, is he not revealing the ultimate secret of polarity? That even those who oppose us are part of our own becoming? That darkness is not to be feared, but understood? Is it possible that our very existence depends on this interplay? That the highs and lows of our lives are not random, but essential to our evolution? The ancient mystics believed that to transcend polarity, one must first embrace it. To see good and evil not as warring forces, but as shadows cast by the same light. Jesus taught this, not through philosophy, but through action. He touched the untouchable. He dined with sinners. He forgave the unforgivable. And in doing so, he revealed that the divine is found not by rejecting one side, but by uniting both in love. To love one's enemy is not just an act of virtue. It is an act of transcendence, a step beyond duality into the realm of divine unity. What if love is the bridge between opposites, the force that dissolves division and reveals the oneness beneath? When Jesus prayed that they may all be one, John 17:21, was he not calling us to this higher state? To a vision beyond black and white, beyond right and wrong, to the hidden harmony that underlies all things. The path forward is not the denial of polarity, but its mastery. To walk through suffering without losing faith. To see darkness, yet choose light. To recognize division, yet embody unity. This is the mystery of Christ, the paradox of the cross, the ultimate reconciliation of opposites. But if all things move between poles, then what comes next? If all things swing like a pendulum, rising and falling, what is the rhythm of the universe? The ancients spoke of cycles, of tides that flow and recede, of death that leads to rebirth. Could it be that even now we are moving within a grander pattern, a rhythm that has been playing since the dawn of creation? And if so, what is our place in it? Everything in existence moves to a rhythm. The tides rise and fall. The sun ascends, then sets. The heart beats in a measured cadence. Even civilizations rise, reach their zenith, and decline, only to be reborn in new forms. The ancients knew this truth. They saw it in the movement of the stars, the cycles of the seasons, the ebb and flow of human destiny. And they understood that this rhythm was not random, but part of a greater order, a cosmic pulse that governs all things. The Hermeticists called it the principle of rhythm. Everything flows, everything has its tides. All things rise and fall, they taught, advance and retreat. This is not mere poetry, it is the fundamental structure of existence. Science confirms it in the oscillations of matter, in the frequencies of light and sound, in the very patterns of our DNA. Nothing in this universe remains still. Everything moves in accordance with a deeper rhythm. But what of the human soul? What of the trials we face? Could it be that even suffering follows this rhythm? That darkness is not an eternal state, but a phase, a necessary part of the cycle? This is where ancient wisdom meets the teachings of Christ. Jesus did not promise a life free of suffering. He promised transformation through it. Blessed are those who mourn, he said, for they shall be comforted. Matthew 5:4. Sorrow is not the end of the story. It is a valley through which we must walk, a winter before the spring. Look at the great moments of Christ's life. His baptism marked the beginning of his ascent, his entry into divine purpose. But what followed? The wilderness? 40 days of fasting, of struggle, of temptation? This was not a punishment. It was a rhythm, a descent before the rise, a necessary preparation before the miracles that would come. And after his ministry reached its peak, the crucifixion, a fall into darkness. Yet even this was not the end. For 3 days later came the resurrection, the ultimate return to light. Consider the miracles of Jesus. To the uninitiated, they seem like disruptions of natural law. Water turned to wine, the sick made whole, the dead raised. But what if they were not disruptions, but expressions of a higher order? What if the miracles were not violations of rhythm, but its ultimate manifestation? When Jesus calmed the storm, Mark 4:39, he did not defy nature, he restored balance. When he healed the sick, he did not break the rules of biology, he accelerated the natural rhythm of restoration. Every miracle was a glimpse into a deeper truth, that beneath the surface chaos, there is an underlying harmony waiting to be unveiled. But how do we live in this rhythm? How do we navigate the inevitable highs and lows of existence without being consumed by them? The key is understanding that every ascent is followed by descent, and every fall holds within it the seed of renewal. When we face hardship, it is easy to believe we are lost, that suffering is meaningless. But what if it is simply part of the rhythm? Just as winter gives way to spring, just as night is swallowed by dawn, our struggles are not endpoints. They are transitions. Weeping may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning. Psalm 30, verse 5. This is the divine rhythm. Loss followed by renewal, death followed by rebirth. And so, we are faced with a choice. We can resist the rhythm, fight against the flow, and suffer in our refusal to accept what is inevitable. Or we can learn to move with it, to trust that even in darkness, there is a promise of light. This is the secret of faith, not blind belief, but deep alignment with the cycles of existence. Through prayer, through mindfulness, through a life of conscious surrender, we can tune ourselves to the greater rhythm. The mystics spoke of this as divine resonance, the state in which one's soul moves in harmony with the universe. Rhythm is the flow of existence, the pulse that governs all things. Yet within this rhythm lies another law, just as ancient, just as unyielding, the law of cause and effect. Nothing happens by chance. Every action, every thought, every word sent into the world sets something in motion. This is an ancient truth, known to mystics and sages across time. The Hermeticists called it the principle of cause and effect. Every cause has its effect. Every effect has its cause. Jesus taught of this principle not as a prison, but as a path. For whatever a man sows, that he will also reap. Galatians 6:7. These words are more than moral instruction. They are the key to understanding our power. Every choice plants a seed. Every word shapes the future. And yet, the greatest revelation of all is that we are not merely subjects of cause and effect. We are co-creators of it. Forgiveness is another manifestation of this law. To forgive is not merely an act of kindness. It is the breaking of a cycle, the severing of chains. Forgive, and you will be forgiven. Luke 6:37. When Jesus pardoned sins, he was not defying cause and effect. He was revealing a higher order, one in which grace transcends judgment, in which love is the ultimate force of transformation. So what does this mean for us? It means that every act of love, every choice of forgiveness, every moment of faith is not lost. It is a cause that will one day bear fruit. It means that kindness is not weakness, but a force shaping reality itself. It means that to curse another is to curse oneself, and to bless is to be blessed. It also means that we are not trapped. The cycles we find ourselves in, pain, regret, failure, are not eternal prisons. They are the results of past causes, and by shifting our awareness, by choosing differently, we can alter the trajectory of our lives. This is the path beyond karma, not through escape, but through transcendence. Love, the force that binds the universe, is the highest law. And it is through love that the chain of cause and effect is not merely endured, but rewritten. So we must ask ourselves, what are we creating? What seeds are we sowing? And if we do not like the harvest before us, what will we choose to plant instead? Because the law is inescapable. But within it lies a gift, the power to shape our future, to move beyond fate and into purpose. But if we are the architects of our reality, if every action, every thought sends ripples through existence, then what of the forces that shape us in return? The world is not a blank canvas, but a mirror of deeper patterns, a stage upon which the great dance of duality unfolds. Light and shadow, strength and softness, expansion and contraction. Each is meaningless without the other. And so, the question arises, do we resist this dance, or do we learn its rhythm? If cause and effect reveal our power to shape the world, then the next truth unveils the structure of creation itself, the sacred balance woven into all things. The universe is woven from dualities, light and dark, order and chaos, movement and stillness. Yet beneath the surface of these seeming opposites lies a deeper truth. They are not adversaries, but complements, two forces in a cosmic dance. This principle, known to the ancients as the law of gender, tells us that everything contains both masculine and feminine energies, not as rigid binaries, but as interwoven aspects of creation. The Hermetic teachings describe this balance as the driving force of existence, the active and the receptive, the forceful and the yielding. These energies do not compete, but complete. In the modern world, we often misunderstand this principle, seeing masculinity and femininity as social constructs, divided and opposed. But in the great traditions of wisdom, from Taoism's yin and yang to the Kabbalistic tree of life, we find a different story, one of harmony, of creation through unity. Jesus embodied this balance. He was strong, yet gentle, powerful, yet humble. He displayed the fierce righteousness of driving merchants from the temple, John 2:15, yet also the tender mercy of healing the broken and embracing the outcast. His was not the path of dominance or submission, but of integration. The gospel narratives reveal that women played a profound role in his ministry. Mary Magdalene, Martha, and Mary, not as passive followers, but as vital participants. It was to Mary Magdalene that the risen Christ first appeared, John 20:16, a symbolic act of restoring balance where the world had imposed division. This balance was also present in Christ's miracles. When he healed the sick, he combined the force of divine authority with the gentleness of compassion. When he spoke words of truth, he did so with both clarity and grace. The true miracle was not just in changing physical reality, but in demonstrating the union of seemingly opposite forces, justice and mercy, action and surrender, power and love. And what of us? We too carry these energies within. Yet how often do we reject parts of ourselves? How often do we favor logic over intuition, strength over vulnerability, control over surrender? The path to wholeness is not in choosing one over the other, but in embracing both. The mind and the heart, the will and the wisdom, the doing and the being. So how do we restore this balance? How do we realign with the natural rhythm of creation? The answer is simple, yet profound. Awareness. To listen to the still, small voice within. To act with strength, yet lead with love. To embrace the fullness of who we are, beyond the labels imposed upon us. Perhaps the world is out of harmony because we have forgotten this truth. Perhaps division and conflict arise not from difference, but from the illusion of separation. And if that is so, then the path forward is clear, not to choose one side or the other, but to awaken to the unity that has always been there. So we must ask, are we ready to restore this balance within ourselves? To integrate rather than separate? To recognize that the key to creation, to transformation, to enlightenment itself, lies not in division, but in the sacred union of all things? Because in the end, creation is not born from one force alone. It is born from the dance of two, the eternal interplay of energies that shape not just the cosmos, but the very essence of who we are. Throughout history, humanity has sought to understand the laws that govern existence. From the ancient mystics to the prophets of old, a singular truth emerges. The universe is not chaos, but order, an intricate design woven with purpose. The Hermeticists called it the divine mind. The Gospel speaks of the Logos, the word through which all things were made, John 1:3. Two traditions, separated by time, yet whispering the same eternal secret. Reality is not random. It is structured by principles, laws that shape the seen and the unseen. Jesus did not come to abolish these laws, but to fulfill them. Matthew 5:17. He demonstrated harmony, balance, and alignment with the cosmic order. The principle of rhythm, the law of cause and effect, the interplay of masculine and feminine energies, all were present in his life and teachings. His miracles were not violations of natural law, but expressions of a higher understanding. When he walked on water, multiplied loaves, or raised the dead, he was revealing the deeper mechanics of reality. What the world saw as impossible, he showed to be merely misunderstood. The wisdom of the ancients and the message of Christ are not in conflict, but in harmony. What the Hermeticists described as the patterns of the cosmos, Jesus embodied in his every word and action. The ancients taught that to understand the laws of the universe is to wield power over one's destiny. But knowledge alone is not enough. Awareness must be followed by application. If all is vibration, what frequency do we choose to embody? If every cause has an effect, what seeds are we planting with our thoughts and actions? If rhythm governs all things, are we flowing with life cycles or resisting them in fear? The spiritual path is not merely about understanding, it is about living in alignment. Jesus lived this alignment fully. He did not merely teach love, he became it. He did not speak of balance. He was the perfect union of forces, the lion and the lamb, the teacher and the servant, the righteous judge and the boundless redeemer. His life was the ultimate demonstration of harmony, a living example of the great work, the transformation of the soul into something higher, purer, divine. And what of us? We are not mere spectators in this cosmic design. We are participants, co-creators. Every thought we think, every word we speak, every action we take sends ripples through reality. To follow the path of wisdom is to accept responsibility, not just for our own fate, but for the world we shape. The kingdom of heaven, Jesus said, is within us. Luke 17:21. Not in some distant future, but here, now, waiting to be realized. This is the challenge, to not only know, but to act, to not only observe, but to create, to align, not just in moments of insight, but in every breath, every step, every choice. The laws of the universe do not bend to our wishes, but they respond to our mastery. When we move in harmony with them, the miraculous becomes natural. The impossible becomes inevitable. It is time to live as architects of destiny, to trust the divine order even in uncertainty. to step beyond fear and limitation into the fullness of our true nature. The path is clear: to embody wisdom, to cultivate balance, and to walk in harmony with the sacred rhythms of existence. The truth has always been before us. Now is the moment to recognize it, to embrace it, and to become it.